Welcome to another week of BlastCast, and once again, I am Jars, and with me, as always, is my bastion of common sense, Lightning Dragon. And of course, we had a lot of information come out this week. Of course, we had the production schedule for 3.0 be put out there for us all to look at, and it looks like it is going to be going to Evo Connie on June 6th. And I am really looking forward to getting my hands on that. The hardest part about that particular, when you're an Evo Connie tester, is it's hard not to tell people. I mean, I respect the NDA, but I gotta sit here and play stupid all the time, and sometimes it's just very irritating to me. Anyway, Lightning, what did you think about all the stuff they showed off on the production schedule?
I think there is way too much fucking stuff there, and the organization of it is just out of control. I actually forgot to watch that video that you were talking about.
Yeah.
But just scrolling through this, like, pages and pages of stuff, it's like most of the stuff is really interesting, like the items 2.0 stuff, but it's like it's coming out this time and then this time and then this time, and it's not in order, and it drives me crazy. And it's weird because it's like there's all this great information here, but I don't want to talk about any of it because it's just, I mean, we could have an entire episode just talking about it, and it'd just be really boring.
Well, I'll put up the picture here of the full production schedule, and it is massive. Now I have a link down below for both the schedule report and also the PU timeline image. And looking through that is extremely daunting. And you kind of look at it, and then I think if you look at this picture and you go, what's taking them so long? Something is seriously wrong with you. Because looking at that, you're like, oh my goodness, this is a mess. It's a lot of different parts that got to come together. You're right, though. I wish they would have organized it, a little bit cleaner. To me, it's like if they came up with like one, generally speaking, that just did everything chronologically.
I think it kind of came like a first come, first serve basis.
Yeah.
So it's like the studio came forward and said, okay, we can probably do it at this time. We can probably do it at this time. And they just added to this list. And then they just kind of, made it look better than probably whatever list they had. And then they just tossed it up. And it's kind of like, I mean, I don't know how many people are like OCD or anything. I don't even think I'm OCD. But looking at that, it makes me OCD.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot to look through. So, if you get a chance, look at that image. I mean, you can dig into that for a long time. When all this information came out, I sat there. I thought, am I going to have to do 2 BlastCasts this week? Just a part A and a part B, because it's a lot of information. It's really daunting, but I don't think I can really do it justice covering it here. I really recommend you look for yourself, because you're going to know as an individual what it is you're looking for in particular, what interests you on this particular sheet. And like they're going to be having in 3.0 the Drake Dragonfly, the new Cutlass Plague, the Constellation Aquila, Ursa Rover Miss Prospector. One of the things I did notice, since the schedule kind of goes out to the end of the year, I didn't see the Redeemer anywhere on that list. In the ships being, they had stuff like the Band Merchantman listed.
Hate.
Yeah, I was like, still? I mean, come on, guys. I hate to be picky about that.
The ship is like 80% done.
Yeah, I mean, it's
odd it has to be like resized in certain areas to make it work. But yeah. I mean, it'd be like if you had a car that was a bit too small and you have to change like the seat and the tires. But you're like, no, I don't want to change the seat and tires. I want to go to this truck and I want to rip out the engine and transmission, and then I want to put in a lowering kit. And it's like, why did you do that? I mean, I'm talking about.
Well, for me, the reason I find it odd is that it was a community voted ship. It was one of those things that it was divided between the last 2 ships, but I would expect that. But still, I mean, you had a massive community following on this ship, and I'm just surprised it's gotten so little attention, to be honest with you. Especially since it inspired the whole new aesthetic of the Aegis lines, things like the Vanguard and other ships like that, from the cockpit into how the whole aesthetic works. I just like to see it taken care of. But anyway, that's just me. Not that I don't have enough ships to play with. And of course, on the list they have the updated features that are going to be released for 3.1 and 3.2. So check it out, because they're not exactly the same as they were before, and I didn't expect them to be. But looking at what's coming out for 3.0, a couple, I don't know if it was last episode or one before that, I talked about how it sounded like it would be interesting if they did something like a 2.7 where they just released the moons of around Crusader, and basically that's kind of what this is 3.0. And it's got some more things, and it's got some missions and things like that. But basically, it's just the moons. It's not going to be the full Stanton system, and that's fine, because I mean, they said in there that basically, if you took every player has an account, and you put them equidistant on one of the moons to span the entire circumference of one of the moons. The players would be so far apart they couldn't even see one another. So there's enough space there for us to play around with. I'm definitely not worried about that. And I just hope that there's enough, random stuff going on the planet, so there's always something fun to do here, or something to explore, or something to look at. We'll see what happens with all that. There's a lot of stuff in the works. When you look at that picture, you can see that there's just a daunting amount of material. Of course, if you haven't seen it, they did put out that video, which came out after Around the Verse, which was basically a breakdown of exactly how they build their timetables or time frames and all of it. And it's a very interesting watch, and to see the layers that go into that and how everything puts together. Very good video, very enlightening if you're into the technical side of it, or just kind of curious at how they get these numbers, or just like pull them out of their butt, or where they come from. Yeah, good video all around. And of course, Around the Verse came out this week, and it was basically a big update from Squadron 42. And as always, I love Aaron Roberts being on there and giving an update. Of course, I think Lightning would agree that the script
we are human, reading off of our human teleprompter.
Yeah, the script it felt a little heavily scripted this week. Not everyone is a great actor in front of the camera, that much is clear, but the information was definitely great. One of the things that I loved seeing right off the bat was the implementation of all the buttons in the cockpit. They start being pressable, usable. I love that kind of interaction. I love flight sims. I love those kind of things. Of course, obviously, there'll still be the keyboard shortcuts. But if you're into the, going down and flipping something, yes, cool. I love it. I love to see that kind of thing just meshed with the real world in the game. There's a new system for handling objects. Basically, you can pick them up and change the orientation. It kind of shows you a ghost image of how you're going to be placing it, and then you set it down there. And if you try to put something down without having in range, it actually throws it. So, of course, this means that the first thing I'm going to do when this feature comes live is I'm going to be throwing stuff at Lightning.
I'll be throwing stuff right back. We're gonna have a war of who can throw the most helmets or something.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a blast. They did actually introduce us to the fatigue system, and obviously it's going to need a little bit of tweaks. It looks a little heavy on some ends, but the fatigue system showed inaccuracy when you're tired. The guy wasn't holding the gun very steady anymore, trying to climb over an object and failing. Now, this particular animation, the one where he tries to climb over, and he doesn't make it and he falls back. There seems to be a lot of complaints about it on the forums. Some people want them to still make it over the thing, but kind of fall over the wall. Personally speaking, I'd rather fall back behind cover than fall down in front of cover, because
honestly, if it was me who was making the decision, yeah, I'd just make it where the character kind of reaches up and then goes ugh, and just has some audio cue where it's you're too tired to climb this. Because could you imagine if you're in a dogfight and you sprinted there, you ducked into cover, you shot overhead, not aiming, whatever, and then you tried to climb up and you're like oh, and you're all this slow in the middle of a dogfight. It's just blah 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 blah. Now you're dead. So you tried to vault, and because you were too tired, it just kills you.
Middle of a dogfight.
No, firefight, whatever. Shut your face.
What are you doing on your feet in a dogfight? So they showed suit punctures, and oxygen recharging depressurization work has begun. Now, what I wonder about with the suit punctures, now we already have the little hypos when you're bleeding. Are they going to have suit patch kits that you carry with you too? I don't know. It's kind of I don't know what they're going to do with that, because is it just be something like
My Little Pony Band-Aids?
That would be worth it. That would be funny. So yeah, I don't know how they're going to approach that, but I imagine it'd be some sort of repair kit, limited usage, the same as the other things. So we'll see what they do.
They could do what is it? A lot of sci-fi have
self-sealing suits.
Well, the foam spray stuff they use.
Yeah.
I was thinking Mass Effect, but I don't know if Mass Effect used a foam spray, but I've seen it in sci-fi movies where they have a foam spray, and it's a hardening spray, so you can be and then it harden and become the color of your suit.
So yeah, I don't know. We'll see what they do with all that. The UI team has been doing significant work to the kiosk shopping interface. I kind of like this. This looks pretty clean. I think this is going to work really well. Right now, of course, anyone who's been playing Persistent Universe, the interface we have right now for summoning up our ships is pretty sloppy. This looks a lot cleaner. It looks like it's scaled much better. It doesn't have that large scale size that we have going on with the ship system right now. The way we have it right now, it's like everything seems to be written in like 96 font, and it doesn't need to be quite that big. But this looks good. One of the things here they showed was how they're setting up the helmet HUD to adjust with a change in field of view. And right now they're going to be setting up a field of view slider. That's great, because there's a lot of people out there when they play FPSs that kind of get nauseous if they have a different field of view. I've never experienced it, but I do know for a fact that some people, if they don't have a certain 90 or 60 or whatever it is they like to play, when they play FPSs, it just makes them throw up.
Not to mention, this will also be supported for like ultra widescreen and things like that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it looks really good. I'm glad to see them do something like this. And of course, the way I like what they're doing, not only with the helmets but with the ships as well. When you look at the way that the HUD, the UI elements that display in the glass, they run on the edges. They like mold around the molding, and I think that looks a lot more. It looks better aesthetically. And it also, in my opinion, makes it easier to locate what you're looking for, because it's, if you kind of just look at the frame of the cockpit, you're going to see the information that you need. It's not just hanging out like in virtual space on your helmet or in front of you. Like if we ever done your outside view, you see on the system we have right now, there's like a panel that's floating in the air. That's kind of like imaginary. That's what you're looking through. So I'm glad to see them moving into something more connected to the ship. I think that'll work so much better.
The concept team is finishing off Ballistic Shotgun, a Gemini ballistic shotgun. And there's also going to be a new ship weapon manufacturer known as Preacher. I actually don't know all the guns that are going to be assigned to that, but that means that we'll have different styles, hopefully. Hopefully we can mix it up a little bit, because there's a lot of weapons that are looking very much plain Jane.
So the ship team has been working on the Hull C and the Reclaimer, as well as working on the new light controllers, basically the new lighting system inside the ships. Now, the Hull C, man, I tell you what, every time I see this, it just looks better and better. I can't wait to fly her. I really can't. I think, for me, that's going to be one of my main money makers, or maybe someone else's main money maker if they
I'm going to be making all the money off of it.
And the new light controller systems, I really like it, how it basically they can set up dynamic lights, how, like, for example, an emergency strobes from one end to the other, setting off the lights in a chain. Lighting, to me, is extremely important in a game.
It's important on multiple levels, because
it's
you take a game like Space Engineers, the lighting, one of their patches they brought about really, really realistic lighting, but the problem was it was making like dynamic shadows and stuff, which was just crippling the game engine, and so they had to kind of go back and retool it. So the lighting engine isn't quite as good as it was before, but at the same time it's also not destroying your GPU trying to cast all these weird shadows and shit all over the place. So lights are really important.
The animation team, they've been working on, of course, the character animations for the railgun, including shoulder, weapon, and prone. The team also worked on the breathing and stamina, as well as no weapon jumps, weapon reloads for the Devastator, Gallant Arrowhead railgun, and new pistol. Lots of new animations, and a railgun, oh, that looks really fun. I don't know how effective that's going to be, and I really hope it's not
the over-the-shoulder railgun?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the delay on the firing is going to be a bit tricky, but I believe they're also going to be introducing a rocket launcher as well, so that might have some heat-seeking stuff.
Yeah,
but
I mean, these really look like anti-ship weapons. It doesn't look like something that you would be bringing into
and I'm pretty sure that's what it's designed for. It's designed to give the player on the ground, like a Marine or something, a chance to actually stand up against like a dropship.
Give them one shot before they get strafed by whatever's coming at them.
Well, if you think about it, let's say you have a team of 5 guys, and each of them have like a railgun or a bazooka or a rocket launcher, or whatever, and you have them set up in like a spread. So you have like 2 guys over here and 2 guys like flanking, and then you have like 2 guys like on a hill or something. And the dropship comes in. The ship can only react at so many angles. So if you hit it hard enough, and in possibly the turrets or something, you could disable part of the ship.
The visual effects team has been working on the Buccaneer, the Killer Prospector, and engine trails, the KLWE Gallant Energy Rifle, the APR Scourge Railgun, and the KSAR Devastator Plasma Shotgun.
Tell you that fucking 12 times fast.
Exactly. But I was looking at the forums, and of all this thing, when talking about the visual effects, the engine trails, there's some people who really don't like the engine trails at all. They don't want to see them in the game. I totally get that.
I would agree, actually. I don't want engine trails.
Yeah, engine trails, in a sense, it is a bit arcadey, you know, to an extent.
I'd say it's very old school sci-fi. Think of like Star Trek and stuff.
Well, yeah, it just feels like something you would see in something like Strike Suit Zero or something like that. You know,
which has it. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I played that recently.
Yeah. So it doesn't seem like something that you would, you know. Now you can maybe explain it with lore, like the whatever your
ion gases evaporating.
It's still burning.
Superheated or something.
Yeah, a trail behind you, kind of like you have contrails after aircraft when they're flying or whatever. It's a mixed reaction from a lot of people, and that's the bottom line on that. So we'll just see how it comes out. I think it looks arcadey to a degree, but I'm kind of neutral on it. We'll have to see. We'll have to see.
I prefer it to be gone, but if it stays in, that doesn't matter. It's not going to break
I'm not
going
to cry over it. You know, the big section around the verse, which of course was the Aegis Javelin. This was awesome.
This was the best part.
Yeah, this was by far the best part.
It's the only reason to watch it. Go watch it right now. What are you doing listening to us?
Yeah. Jeez. What are you doing? Well, you can watch this footage. That'll work.
Yes. Watch the footage because we'll have it.
60% of the Javelin was actually taken inspiration from the Idris. I have to call it the Idris now.
I hate the Idris. I think it sounds stupid.
I know, but that's how they pronounce it, so I gotta go.
Well, they're stupid and they're wrong.
Now, the floor plan is the first step in designing the Javelin, and they set up with distinctly separate and different decks, not only in function but in the aesthetic. And all these sections can be locked down with bulkheads if something, basically, if it's too damaged or whatnot.
Hull breach.
Yeah, hull breach. I mean, I get all sorts of scenarios where some of your crew is literally stuck down below with it, and there's a boarding
the
party.
The ship is capsized and it's taking on water. Oh, wait a minute.
Well, I mean, just look at, like, okay, say that you get an enemy force in there, right? And they've managed to storm into the engineering decks, right? You basically seal it off so you have an overwhelming force that try to slow them down or whatever. Or there's a fire in the engine room or whatever. The point is that I like the fact that they're considering bulkheads being built into the ship and basically having those ability to lock down sections. I think that's great. They show up the Javelin's hangar bay, and it looks like it just about the right size to fit one Vanguard, just barely. You better land that sucker perfect.
Oh boy, a Vanguard, my favorite.
Yeah. Well, basically, looks like the lift is actually kind of connected to the hull, the outer hull, if you will. It looks like it kind of just lifts up directly on that, becomes part of the outer hull when it goes straight up. There is still a door that covers it looks like, but this is really cool. I mean, it's actually, I was hoping actually that was big enough for Retaliator, but you can't have everything. No, but the whole thing, looking with the breakdown where they show, here's this part of the Idris, here's this part of the Javelin. Here's this part of the Idris. Here's this part of the Javelin. Everything with skins, the engine room, the gravity generators, and they show that this kind of this repeating theme going throughout it. And they say that they kind of took all the mistakes that they learned. Built. I'm just gonna call it the Idris. I can't call it the Idris. That hurts. That hurts my head.
It's dumb. I think
it's officially the Idris. End of argument. So
yep, it's now the Idris.
That's now the Idris. Okay, so they basically took all the mistakes and all the things that they did with the Idris, and they looked at it. And they said, well, what can we do to streamline when we build Javelin? And they still, until a few months back, I mean, they were still working on the Idris, as far as I know. That one was extremely long development time. I remember them saying it was several months back that they still had like one more room to develop on the ship.
I think part of the problem was they kept having to remake it. Like they learned something new, so they we have to go back and do this. When the size changed, they had to redo a bunch of it.
Yeah, it's been a real experience. It's been a real, I think this is why even I think the Bengal probably would be developed faster than the Idris was, because they've learned so much by making all the mistakes they've made. And I guess that's all part of the process. They're trying all these things that no one's done before. Of course, you're going to be making a lot of mistakes. And so, as I said, if you haven't seen that, watch it. It's great. That's like the best part of the entire show, hands down. Then, of course, we go to our favorite section here, the happy hour. All right, so we can basically summarize the happy hour here. The question that everyone always asks: female character? Answer: yes. And let's see here. We've got injured movement animations that are in development. Dragging an ally that's wounded is still going to be a thing. And they're making sure that the game will absolutely not be a game you can play by firing off the hip. They kind of iterated that if you think you're going to go Rambo style in Star Citizen and make it work, it's just not going to happen. Which is great, because I think that would change the entire
that's what you
flavor.
do right now.
Well, yeah, that would change the entire flavor of Star Marine, which is really just a run and gun. You add in the fatigue, you add in the inaccurate hip fire, so to speak. That's going to change the way everyone plays. And frankly, good, because, if in the persistent universe you're dealing with permadeath, why would you want to have Call of Duty mechanics?
Rambo.
Oh, yeah. Of course, stamina, they don't know if that's going to affect loading times or not, or reloading speed. I can see it.
They might, but very small.
Yeah. I mean, they could just slow down the animation a little bit. I mean, if they wanted to make it, they don't have to go out of the way, like make you fumble with the clips or anything like that.
Oh, that'd be awful. No, just make it slower. Like if you're completely drained, like quote unquote out of stamina, just like make it take like another second or two or something. Because a second or two in combat's a long time.
Yeah, it really is. And that kind of leads us into the last thing I want to talk about. It's more of kind of a general thought, just something that kind of came across my mind, and I was reading one of the people who was leaving comments in the channel, and I feel they have a point. See, when I looked at the situation of what Chris Roberts is trying to do here, it made me go think back to Wing Commander. Wing Commander, of course, Wing Commander 3 and 4 was very cinematic. And, of course, he had the Wing Commander movie. I think it was his first attempt directing or whatnot. It wasn't a great movie. Let's just be honest about it. But, also we had the Wing Commander animated cartoon series. And so when I look at what the CIG is doing right now, I think, personally speaking, that Chris Roberts is playing a long game. He's going to be selling this engine, this technology, the things that's being developed to other studios. And I really think it's very possible that since he has experience as a producer and as a director, and he has connections to people who have worked on things like the Guardians of the Galaxy and all of his other movies. He's got people designing the ships that worked on Star Trek. Is it possible that he's looking at turning Star Citizen into a full-fledged media franchise?
No, he's going to be directing the next Star Trek movie.
I don't know, but there's been a real relative drought of high quality sci-fi out there.
No, I'm not going to say there wasn't, but
yeah, and he loves. I mean, that's just looking at the past. What they say, what's past is prologue. I think he's learned the way that he's learned from his mistakes of dealing with AAA companies. I think that's why he tried to avoid it so heavily this time, so he'd have more creative control. I think that when he made that first Wing Commander movie, because he was inexperienced, because he was new, there was a lot of studio pushing in and changing, like the hairless hamster Gilrathi and things like that. The things that were changed that were just not very good, didn't feel like Wing Commander. And I think a lot of that, to some degree, was budget and studio decisions. So what I wonder is Chris Roberts looking at making this a new media empire, and then basically using that empire to feed back in the game, kind of feed into each other. I don't know. I mean, that's just me spitballing here, but I don't think Chris thinks small in anything. I think this is just stage one of a much bigger story. With books and everything else that's gonna be coming out.
A book series would be amazing.
Yeah, I mean, why not? I mean, they had books for Wing Commander, and Wing Commander.
They had books for Halo.
Oh yeah, those weren't too bad. They had books for Doom. I have 3 of them.
I did not know that.
Yes, I have 3 Doom books, and they're actually pretty interesting. So yeah, it's one of those things that I really look at this, and I'm seeing that with all this technology he's putting in there, when you looked at that production schedule for the year, I don't know. I just got this between that comment and looking at that production schedule. I just got this feeling that this is just the whole Star Citizen experience. The game portion of it is just the start.
That sounds like a ride at like Universal Studios. The Star Citizen experience.
Hey,
witness years of wait in the line before you get on the ride.
This is such an experience.
Witness the unfortunate lack of content because you're still playing an alpha test a game, and then be blown away at the full release because it was beyond anything you could imagine. Because honestly, after such a long time, you can't believe it ain't a full game anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. As I said, I don't know if you guys out there think that this is me just, talking up my ass. It's a real possibility.
I personally just think he's going to support all this stuff through the game, like they've said.
The merchandise and things like that.
Buying UEC through the store, the Squadron 42 Part 2 and Part 3 that are going to be DLC.
And you may be right. I mean, you honestly just may be as right. I may be as wrong can be. But I'm just looking at his past and how he really tried to merchandise Wing Commander as a media event. Between the cartoon, between the movie, the books.
Well,
I don't know.
You may not be far off because there's been 3D printed models and things.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. Well, I guess we'll just see. It's just a weird thought, guys, out there. I just wanted to go ahead and throw that out there. Let me know what you think down below. I mean, I'm curious. So anyway, guys, that's it for this week's BlastCast. And thank goodness we decided to go ahead and cut it down a little bit. Otherwise, well, it would have been an A and a B, and it is way too hot in my room to even consider doing that. It is
it's
nasty
getting hot in here, so open up the window. Goodbye, everybody.
Later.